Hello everybody, good afternoon. My name is Rastislav Janota. My role today is to introduce you to the cybersecurity part of the 2020 edition of the Spring ITAPA conference. I would like to welcome for the first part, first three speakers, Mr. Rafał Jacinski from the Huawei company, Mr. Ramses Gayago Iglesias from the Microfocus, and Mr. Môže Lerner from Checkmarks. We are about to talk about cybersecurity, how the cybersecurity influence our daily lives, the importance of the cybersecurity, and of course about the fact that the cybersecurity is a topic, despite some of us think it's a geek topic, it's really area which influence all of us in our daily lives. So at the very beginning, I would like to introduce you Mr. Rafał Jacinski with the view of the Huawei company on the 5G and changing of the industries because of the 5G. Please.
My pleasure. Do you see my slides?
Yes.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, it will be about 5G, about the promise it gives, about the money it can bring to the business, and about some of the security risk it brings and how it can be addressed. But let's first talk about money. Recent forecasts estimate the market for 5G services globally to reach slightly over $400 billion by 27, right? So no wonder that despite the fact that the networks, 5G networks worldwide are not yet mature enough, pretty much everyone is experimenting and trying to position the country or the business in the right place of the value chain. So let's have a look at how it works, how it compares globally. First of all is South Korea. In South Korea, the business-to-business market is not huge, actually. So the operators there use examples like manufacturing, autonomous cars, monitoring, or steering construction machines, like prestige project for show-off, simply. But the real case, the real money currently in South Korea is in the consumer business, because, for instance, if you look at virtual reality, in 4G networks, the propagation of users reached 5% of the customer base. With 5G, it has increased by the factor of 10. So actually 50% of the network, 5G network users is currently engaged and actively using virtual reality because of the additional bandwidth, the speed, and decreased latency. So actually the immersion is much more attractive. In China, because of the scale, because of the number of businesses, China is working heavily in the business-to-business space. So we are talking about using 5G for manufacturing, for public safety. Of course, China is known for that. Logistics, including the seaports, education, smart cities, and agriculture. Automated rice farm is something you need to see to believe. Middle East, on the other hand, doesn't produce a lot as such, but they are bloody good and increasing the comfort of lives of citizens and businesses alike. So the most frequent use cases there is what we call wireless fiber. So instead of using fiber to deliver broadband to homes, for instance, they use 5G links for that. Smart cities is also an area that they are heavily investing in, not only on 5G technologies, of course, but 5G is one of the promising ones there. European Union is pretty diverse in terms of use cases. So we have manufacturing there. I will show you one case in a minute. Seaports, smart cities, and company networks, and surprise, surprise, agriculture as well. And last but not least, USA. If I look at the use cases in USA, it seems that they like to watch good sports and then have a good burger, because the most prevalent use cases is high definition, or 4K or 8K definition transmission of sports events, and controlling and managing cattle ranches. So you have connected cows, but actually you could think that such a connected cow connected to 5G network with all sorts of gizmo is a bit of an overdone steak, right? But then you start to realize that a huge cattle ranch in US may be as many as 14,000 cattle spread across the area of 5% of Slovakian territory, right? And then all the wireless technologies for monitoring of livestock suddenly make sense. So have a look at one specific use case, which is about manufacturing. You have attracted a lot of manufacturers to Slovakia as well, so it might be relevant for your country. Here we are talking about a certain factory in Switzerland, which is making turbines for jet engines. It is high precision work, so actually the precision is around a couple of micrometers, and the machines there have significant axial acceleration, which unfortunately comes with vibration. And the problem is that the distance of milling is often very small. So actually, the only quality control mechanism that has been used to date was visual, automatic but visual quality of control after the milling has ended, which results in the volume of dropouts reaching 25%, and the losses in millions of Swiss francs. Now, the problem is that if you wanted to stop the milling in the right time, to reprogram machines or to stop it altogether, you have extremely limited time to make a decision, which is around 10 milliseconds. And this is where 5G actually helped, because with the latency it can bring, with the use of MEC, more about it in a minute, the whole processing including transmission from the sensor up to the digital twins, where the decision on changing the parameters or stopping the milling is taken, is an elapsed time of 10 milliseconds, right? So actually, this use case brings to one factory roughly 30 million of Swiss francs annually in savings. And this particular manufacturer has 8 such factories worldwide. So actually you can do the maths yourselves. Now, I mentioned something called MEC, and I mentioned latency as one of the factors behind such use cases. Now, let's get a bit more technical. As a reminder, the architecture of 5G network is very simple. You have the access network, which is wireless in most cases, and you have 5G core. So this is the white cloud, where on a private cloud, virtualized network functions live. But there is also a yellow cloud called MEC. Now, if you think about latencies of a couple of milliseconds, like 1 millisecond, it tells you, because the information, really cannot travel faster than the light, even on a 5G network, that the distance between the user and the application needs to be rather small, right? And taking into account other delays, we are counting that in kilometers, really. So the MEC is another private cloud or clouds, which will be put closer to base stations and will host applications like the digital twins in the previous example that require very limited latency. Now, unfortunately, apart from money, it also brings some security challenges, because if you drill a bit down into such a private cloud, which is put next to the base station, you will see that it will host a certain core network function, actually a software router, which handles the routing of the traffic, either up to the core or within the company or manufacturing network. Then you'll have a zone for applications which are owned by the operator and thus controlled by the operator. But you will also have a zone for applications which are provided by a third party, like in the example we had, the digital twins, right? So actually on one virtualized environment, you have something which belongs to the operator network, something which is controlled by operator but doesn't belong into the network, and something which is neither controlled by operator nor it belongs to the 5G network, right? So actually what do? The keyword here is isolation. You really need to isolate all these three zones, isolate those 3 zones from the hardware. And you need to also remember that if you put such a private cloud next to the base station, it is not a fully physically protected central data center of the operator, right? It's somewhere out in the field, somewhere in the factory, somewhere where the physical security is lower. And actually, this is one of the 3 major challenges, the MEG. This is one of the major 3 challenges, security challenges on a 5G network. Because we are limited of time, I will not elaborate on the other. Let's make it a series. But the MEG is certainly one of the challenges. The good news here is that if you look at the technologies used, virtualization, private clouds, separation, hypervisors, it is nothing specific to telecommunication. It is nothing specific to 5G. We've seen it elsewhere. We've learned to live with it, and we've learned to secure it. And this is, for me, the greatest hope for the security of 5G, that the technologies used are more familiar than it used to be before. So the knowledge pool, the pool of experts, which will be ready to secure upcoming 5G networks is much higher. So thank you. This is from my side. I'm open for any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much for your introduction of the Huawei's view to the 5G and security. I'd like to ask all the attendees. Rád by som požiadal všetkých divákov, poslucháčov Jarného kongresu ITAPA, keď majú záujem položiť otázky v rámci chatu, je to možné. Pokúsime sa speakerom tieto otázky sprostredkovať na konci tohto prvého bloku. At the end of the first block, I would like to receive and then ask you questions from the auditorium, if any.
Excellent.
So now,
thank you very much.
You're welcome. So now I would like to introduce Mr. Ramses Iglesias. Frankly, I heard this name many years ago. He is very well-known expert in the area of the cybersecurity education, in the cybersecurity awareness, and I'm extremely proud to host him today at the Spring ITAPA 2020 to tell us something about cyber, not the technical view, but rather the daily view to the cyber from the operational side. Mr. Iglesias.
That's correct. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. I am Security Risk and Governance International Director with Microfocus, and it's truly an honor to be presenting for you in the next 15 to 20 minutes. Yes, I'm going to talk, and hopefully you should be seeing that on screen as I am sharing my slide. The role of the cyber executive in the cyber epoch. All right. So let me move slide and please confirm that you are seeing the next slide, which is basically back to the beginning, back to the roots. Actually, I firmly believe that we need to go back to the beginning, which is in cybersecurity is the fundamental questions on who has access to what, when, and how. Actually, I have to celebrate, as I was preparing for this session, that you guys you have from Slovak Public, actually you have a computer security and incident response team methodology. You have released a best practice, a framework that actually talks about literally encryption, certificate for portals, monitoring and log management, application whitelisting. And from Micro Focus, I am so honored of letting you know that, yes, we have a portfolio, an ecosystem that actually goes back to the beginning, goes back to the instrumental questions and pillars of cybersecurity. As I am moving my slide, you should be seeing a change ahead sort of a visual. Well, that's my reminder to let you know that our engineers and our salespeople and our technical people, they're very passionate in the very same way that I am with change as a discipline. And I was preparing for that on letting you know about the 3 V's of change: the velocity of change, the variety of change, and the volume of change. Let me repeat that, because actually your methodology on the CSIRT, so the computer system security and incident response methodology, actually talks about the volume of change, the velocity of change, and certainly in this post-COVID-19 epoch, this post-pandemic era that we are living, change is the norm. So velocity, variety, and volume of change. Let me move, because we in the industry, we are so eager to talk about digital disruption and digital transformation. All right, yes to all of that. However, we at Micro Focus, we firmly believe that the name of the game should be radical innovation. Let me repeat that. Radical innovation, doing different things differently. And the way we approach control and visibility, effectiveness, efficiency, identity management, access governance, encryption, data privacy, all of that requires not just breaking a couple of rules, but thinking out of the box. And that's how our engineers are being trained. As I am moving my slide, you should be seeing a sort of a chess picture. Okay, the next 2 slides are exactly about that. No, well, not the game of chess. Well, the sport of chess. They say it's sport. But it's very interesting because it's a strategy game, isn't it? It's not a tactical game. Actually, you win at chess, or you try to, if you do the checkmate, if you kill the king, right? Okay. The thing with chess as a strategy game is that, and that's my reminder for this cyber role of the cyber epoch, the cyber executive, is that you cannot win, they say, you cannot win at the game of chess without a queen. You need a queen to play well and to win the game of chess. Remember that the queen moves into any direction faster than anyone else, well, except the horse. I mean, she cannot do the movement of the horse, but the rest of the movements she can do faster than anyone else. So as I was preparing this session with my colleagues in Slovakia and my colleagues in Micro Focus, we thought that, okay, the typical quote on business is king or customer is king. Okay, if business is king, then security, privacy, data protection, encryption is queen. You cannot win in the game of business without understanding all of the assets and the ecosystem as a whole. Not just pinpoint solutions, but as a whole. Actually, as I am moving my slide, you should be seeing not just 1 board game, but 3 chess board games. Why? Because we at Micro Focus, we understand the 3 very pillars of any company on the planet. The 3 very pillars of every company on the planet is identities, data, and applications. Let me repeat that. Identities, data, and applications, and they form an ecosystem. As I am moving my slide, and I want to be absolutely respectful with the time that has been given, you know, what you are seeing on your screen is my reminder to let you know that we know. To let you know that we at Micro Focus understand the governance definition by heart. By heart. You know, the governance definition says the following. It's a universal, by the way, definition. It has been accepted universally. It says about setting a strategic direction, making sure that objectives are met. Let me open a parenthesis, because this is a hell of a conversation. Unfortunately, we don't have time to develop that, but this is a conversation on strategy and tactics, and we love it on Micro Focus. But in any case, let me go back to the definition. It's setting a strategic direction, making sure that objectives are met. Number 3, ascertaining that the risks, in plural please, risks are managed. And number 4, making sure, ascertaining the responsible use of resources. And when I had a look to your methodology, the Computer and Security Incident Response Team, it's about, well, strategy and tactics, but it's certainly about managing risks in plural, and it's certainly making sure of the responsible use of resources. And we at Micro Focus, yes, we understand all that. What you are seeing on screen, as I am building my N, although I have some minutes left, but this is our portfolio. We are not, with all due respect, we are not a one-trick pony. We understand, we are not a siloed company. We understand identity and access management, security operations, endpoint security, encryption, application security. Actually, our name of the solution for application security is Fortify. And I love it. When I came into the company, I just said, wow, a company that actually the name of the of the solution is actually the verb, to fortify, to bring robustness and solidness into code, into checking vulnerabilities. I thought that's fantastic. As I am moving my slide deck, actually, those are the 5 universal questions that every company should have an answer for. Why? Because someone will come with questions. Mark my words. Someone will come with questions. Sometimes it's internal auditing. Sometimes it's external auditing, my manager, stakeholders, shareholders. Sometimes your honor in a court of law. Sometimes your honor. So you should be prepared to have the answers to the 5 universal questions: who has access to what, when, and how. Full stop. And if you want, under the light of GDPR, remember, it's not a why, it's what for. Under the GDPR, it's not why they want access, what for they requested access, the goal, the priorities. And again, with our voltage sort of solutions, which is about encryption and data protection, ArcSight, in order to provide full control and visibility, monitoring and log management. By the way, monitoring and log management is explicitly mandated in the methodology from your country, again, the Computer Security Incident Response Management. I am inviting you to play a game. Well, metaphorically, but we are Micro Focus, we are inviting you to play a game. And it's the game that you are seeing hopefully on your screen, which is the game of connecting the dots. We are inviting you to connect the dots for the good or the bad, and you might agree or disagree. But we at Micro Focus, we have a vision and a mission, and a purpose and a promise. You all need, and I'm addressing you guys, CISOs or CTOs and CFOs, security managers, risk directors, compliance officers that are here attending this session, and I am very honored of being addressing you today. Thank you for the invitation, ITAPA. But I'm addressing you as you connect the dots. You understand the gateway and the endpoint and the clouds, and then application security and control and visibility on what's happening in and out, the different in and out vectors of your company. That's the name of the game, not in siloed mode, but in a holistic end-to-end ecosystem point of view, connecting the dots. And we at Micro Focus, again, you might agree or disagree, but we have decided not to be a one-trick pony company, but actually doing it larger. Talking about that, hopefully you should be seeing the screen has been should be refreshing, and hopefully you love what you are seeing as much as I love it, because it's sort of a treasure map. Well, it's a metro line, correct? But it's sort of a treasure map. And it's so cool because that's our interpretation of a journey. It's our interpretation of the path to success. It's our interpretation to, understanding identity management, event management, storage optimization, data archiving, file recovery, encryption, data masking, anonymization, personal identifiable information, recovery. Well, for the good or the bad, we at Micro Focus, we are running all of those trains. We are understanding data privacy, lifecycle management, monitoring, effectiveness, efficiency, cost control, automation. Unfortunately, I don't have the time today, but I mean, if you invite me again, which I will be honored. It will be a privilege. I mean, with most of those solutions, we are using unsupervised machine learning, big time. I mean, and I give lessons, or I used before the virus, I used to go around the planet teaching on, unsupervised machine learning, quantum computing, deep learning. Well, I was surprised, positively surprised, when I came into the company and our engineers are already using reinforcement learning and deep learning in order to do what you are seeing on screen. My last 3 to 4 slides, I'm addressing you guys as Generation X, Y, Z, millennials, whatever generation you feel you are. I'm addressing you because I guess that we at Microfocus, we have found the gene of the next gen. The title of this presentation, remember, is the role of the cyber executive for this cyber epoch, this post-pandemic world. Okay, so we have found the gene of the next gen executive, cyber professional. So the gene for the next generation, you will see it on the next slide, which is through our technology, you can be even more intelligent. Actually, you can become a genius with insights into what is really happening at the gateway, at the network, at the cloud. You should be generous because in this cyber criminal post-pandemic COVID-19 epoch, unfortunately, the bad guys are sharing information. You can go there, there's a hole in that. Well, you should be sharing information with your stakeholders, actually benchmarking with your peers. I mean, with all of the anonymity that you prefer, but it's important that you can become, with our solutions, generous. You can be genuine, being authentic, being genuine. And you should be an agent of change. But most importantly, and I'm finishing with this, you can become a legend. Now, seriously, and I'm looking into the camera, straight into the camera, because the time has come to be leaders. The time has come to become a legend, because legends are remembered. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you leave a legacy. Even if you don't work in your company, let's say years from now, you leave a legacy because you chose the right technology. You fulfill the promise of your computer security incident response team methodology. And again, I read it in English when I was preparing this session, It talks about application whitelisting. It talks about secure email, encryption, web scan, vulnerability management, monitoring and log management. And we at Microfocus, that's exactly what we do. With the portfolio that you are seeing on screen, this is a portfolio that talks about trust. It's holistic and it's an ecosystem. And it was an honor to present it to you. I know I was fast because I want to be respectful with the time that was allotted, but when I was introduced, I can talk for days, and that's not a joke. You know that I can talk in a very passionate way, as I was introduced before. So again, it was an honor. And if there is any question, of course, my colleagues in the country, I'm addressing you from Barcelona, Spain. That's my place, and that's born and raised in Barcelona, Spain. But certainly, me, myself, and my colleagues in the country, we will be more than happy to serve you, to answer any question now in the beginning. But again, in a holistic, fulfilling the promise, the purpose and the promise sort of fashion. Back to the moderator, and I'm open to any question or to the next speaker. Thank you very much. It was an honor to present on behalf of Microfocus. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Extremely nice, passionate presentation. Thank you again. I'm very sure that this will be this will leave a very nice feeling in all attendees of the ITAPA conference. For the next presentation, I would like to ask everyone, if you are doing something in the kitchen, preparing food, and forgetting to add salt to the recipe, is enough to add salt at the end when the food is on the table? No, I don't think so. It's too late. And same is with the security and the software. If you are trying to secure the software solution, at the end, when everything is done, you are trying to install the solution, and then adding security around. It might help, but definitely it's not enough. It's not the right time. So I would like to introduce you Mr. Môže Lerner, who will try to describe this principle from the or based on the DevOps standards, on the view from the Checkmarks company, who is expert in this part of the security development. Please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, how are you? I'm Môže Lerner. I'm Senior Vice President of Strategy and Corporate Development at Checkmarks. We are a Tel Aviv-based cybersecurity company. For the last 14 years, I'm 11 years with the company. It is active all over the world. And what I would like to do is to talk about DevSecOps. DevSecOps is the new method of developing software while securing it. And I would like to argue the theme of my presentation is that software equals security. And the underlying statement is that software is everywhere. Just look around you. Look at your phones, your laptops, every gadget that you have around you. It's all about software. So software is embedded everywhere. And security is really everything. Because if you are not secured, you will pay a lot of penalties, mainly as an organization that is serving commercially the audience. So let me just illustrate, just a recent, less than a month ago, there was in Santander. Santander is one of the largest Spanish international banks. I think it's the largest in Spain. And in its Belgian branch, the blog was compromised. Now, you tell me, what's so important if the blog was compromised? Now, the blog was compromised. There was a hack to the blog due to a small security misconfiguration of the blog itself in the cloud. So what's the problem? The problem is that all the email address of the customers of the bank were exposed. Now, what does a hacker that finds all this email address doing? He's trying to phish. Phish is the word for hassling a targeted audience. Now, since he knows that there are clients of the banks, he can do much more efficient phishing and try to make a fraud to a very targeted audience. So this is a big deal. This was all over the place. Santander got a big reputation hit due to this breach, even though the damage is not clearly immediate, but the damage to the reputation of the bank is big. Consequently, such damage can lead to a big financial damage. So I would talk about application development, okay? Application security within the development teams, because in the end of the day, the people that are developing the applications should be responsible for the security of their applications, and cybersecurity people and cybersecurity executive needs to give a lot of confidence and a lot of main tools and the trust to the developers, so those developers will secure the applications. The problem is that developers treat security as a non-functional requirement, and I'll explain what it means. When you're programming, for example, a shopping cart, each one of you is doing an Amazon or Alibaba or any shopping commercially knows what is shopping cart. So a developer thinks that calculation of the total of the basket when you buy it is a very important functional requirement. It doesn't ever think, how do I protect the credit card that the customer is putting in? It's not a functional requirement. You just need to put the credit card. But if I'm not going to protect the credit card data, then I have a big, big problem for the organization, because maybe there would be a problem with calculation of euros or dollars, but if the credit card are compromised, then I have a big problem. And that's something that needs to be changed dramatically in order for us to get a secured environment. Now, in this era of DevOps, the world is moving very quickly. Facebook, for example, does about 50 to 60,000 builds every day. Builds is release of a new software. Amazon is deploying to production a new component of software every 11 seconds. The world is moving in the speed of light. Problem is that about 60% of the successful attacks happens due to vulnerability at the application level, and about 70% of the developers, however, are not properly trained to build secure application. So we are here, our mission in life is to help these developers understand what is application security and give them tools where they can protect their applications. And we are a recognized leader in the security research world. We just found about 6 months ago a breach in Android camera, and Android and Google and Samsung had to fix about 200 million phones due to this breach that somebody could hijack the camera. We found in Amazon Alexa a problem that made it a recording device. And we also did some compromise of Tinder website about 2 years ago. Tinder were not very responsive to fix the problem, whereas Amazon and Google did it. But if you see it, that even the largest organizations in the world, like Google, Samsung, Amazon, you can find and compromise their software. So a very good hacker can always find the problem, and the role of the developers is always to defend against them. So the new boardroom realization is, and I'm talking to a lot of board members around the world, the new boardroom realization is security is no longer a compliance issue. It's not just a GDPR or a PC compliance or something like this. It is a real risk to the organizations. So boardroom members will ask cybersecurity people, and will ask the CISO, and will ask the head of the development, what is the state of your security? Am I at risk from a business perspective? So we are at Checkmarx. We serve about 1,400 customers. We're a leader in the world of application security testing for the second consecutive year. As a matter of fact, we're located as number 2 in the Magic Quadrant of Gartner's. We have about 600 employees, and we grow very fast, and we serve more than 70 countries around the world. What do we know to do for you? We know application security for DevOps, so we can help you embed within these very fast, rapid development cycles, application security. We also understand code. I call ourselves the Google Translate of code. There are so many code languages, frameworks around the world. You need to understand all of them and realize what are the security vulnerabilities within them. And we have many security experts that are finding problems all over the world in applications, and they are bringing that knowledge into the product itself. So I would tell you that the main trend today in the world is that everything is code. When we are talking today about cloud security, about cloud development, organizations are moving more and more from on-premise type solutions to a cloud. So they don't have an IT, they don't have servers, they don't have databases. They're consuming applications in the cloud. They build applications in the cloud, not just the Amazons and the Googles. A lot of banks and software companies and financial institutes and e-commerce companies, all of them are putting the applications in the cloud. And everything is becoming code. Everything is codified. And since everything is codified, there are big repositories of software around the world that include all the data. Those repositories are those that you need to realize what in it and how to protect it. Git is the most famous repository that exists. It has many flavors around the world. But if you are looking at a modern application team, they are all using Git. They have all their information within Git. All their software is in Git. And the idea is to look at this Git and analyze what's the problems and give the right advice to the developers how to fix the problem. Why did I say that the developers are responsible? Because in the past, it used to be that there were IT teams and application teams. But today, it's all merged in the era of DevOps. Everything is merged into one organization. It's the development team that has IT and application under its responsibility. So it's not anymore silos of developers and IT organizations and security. Everything is now in the hands of the developer. So developers owns software. developer needs to own security, and you need to empower the developers and give them autonomy also on security. So I would restate here that software equals security, because software is everywhere and security is everything to prevent the risk to the health of your organization. Checkmarx has multiple products that can be used and should be used by developers, CISOs, security organizations to protect their software, and they are all embedded in this world of DevOps. So the developer can use any tool in his development world and launch and embed within it security scans to make sure that his applications are secured and the organization health is intact. With that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Passionate presentation. Maybe I'd like to disagree with one point from your presentation. Software is equal to security. Yeah, it's a wish. We very much believe, all of us, that software should be equal to security. Unfortunately, today is not often the truth.
I agree with you, but I would like to play what I believe should be the future. For the last 11 years, 10 years ago, I had to talk to organizations and explain to them that there is security risk in applications. Today, I'm less in that situation, but I firmly believe that the way that software and security are treated should be merged together, that a software bug should be treated as a quality bug. So this is the theme. I agree with you 100% that the world is not there yet, but I'm trying to pave or to look forward where the world should be and where it is going to be in several years from now. And if you're planning for the proper application security or security program, that's the way it should be. You need to shift responsibility to the developers and empower them to protect their application. That's the way it should be, and I agree with you that we are not there yet, 100%.
We have much bigger problems with software, not only the security part. We all know, if we buy any kind of physical product, from the car at the beginning to the I don't know, computer, if the product is not doing what we expected, we have a warranty period. Do it on the software. You buy software as is, and if it is not doing what was expected, it's your problem. You buy it. So on the software side, vendors are not ready today to take responsibility for the product they are selling. It's my observation. So we should really go ahead.
You're right in the sense that software is not treated from a warranty perspective as a physical device. But I would argue, on the other hand, that most of the devices that you get today are empowered by software. So if you buy a phone, for example, see how many software downloads you get into your smartphone all the time, because they're fixing the software all the time. So the world is changing. The more realization there is that software is embedded everywhere, then it means that part of the warranty is to fix the software. So it's not yet as if it was like a car that is broken or the chassis is broken, but see how many cars today are empowered by computers. So it is part of the warranty, the computer of the car. So it's in embedded devices, it's more like this. In software, in other places, it's not the same. So we have a long way to go on, and I think one of the trends that you see today is that there is a third party that we see that companies are looking for third party certification of the software supply chain. Okay, so if you are consuming software from other people, you ask them to make sure that the software is securely certified. So we see this trend coming in. It's not there yet. But what you're saying is, and it is right, is that the entire supply chain of software should be certified and secured. And this will bring us to where you want to be with the warranty for software. But we are a long way to go because, you know, software is not really an engineering. It's not, you don't treat software engineering the way you treat engineering of cars. But that's the way it should be. We should treat engineering of software the way you treat engineering of cars.
Exactly.
It should be precise. It should be well articulated. It should be well documented. But, you know, we're a long way from there, but you painted the road very well. Exactly.
Thank you very much. As for the questions, I saw on the chat that there were few questions to other presenters. Most of them already answered on the chat. So maybe a question to your colleagues, if you would like to stress a few of those answers now on the voice as well.
Well,
for instance, there was a few questions to Huawei around 5G and situation in Poland.
Yeah, actually, I can pretty much repeat and add to what I wrote on the chat. So very briefly for everyone, Polish 5G initiative. It was an initiative announced last year, end of last year, which is about building a common 5G network operating at 700 megahertz band, owned by a government, so public ownership here, with participation of all the operators. Now, so the question was whether we have any progress here. Not that I know of. So actually, apart from signing the memorandum last year, no specific progress has been registered or announced. Second is the question of the code, which is which is good after the presentation from Checkmarks. The question was whether we make the source code available for review, and the answer is yes. And in two or three modes at least. One is directly in cooperation with governments, like in UK, or in a different forum in Germany, for instance. And this is the traditional model we started with, right? Because specific governments wanted to us to disclose the source code for review, so we set up a center and did it with them. That's the original model. But recently, last year actually, we launched something we call Transparency Center, which is in Brussels, and there we make our code available to anyone for review. For a commercial fee, right? Because, you know, it costs us some time to set up the environment and make the introduction, but there are no limits in terms of who is able to come and review the code. So actually you can come yourself with a third party, with your own tools, right? You just buy some time on the platform and do whatever you want with the code. Of course, it is available in the virtual environment, so in a sandbox, so you cannot take it with you because it's our intellectual property, but still it's actually quite an interesting idea because hardly any other vendor is actually doing that. So actually we think it's at the end of the day the way to go.
Thank you. Ramses?
Yeah, well, on top of that, I just want to say that 5G, of course, changes the velocity of things, and so it's fantastic. So no questions asked on that. However, it represents a challenge of, and I think it's very interesting for the cybersecurity arena, because we have been throwing, let me use this verb, we have been throwing tools at the network and throwing tools at endpoints, but suddenly 5G, the promise is, as Rafael was mentioning very well, is that it would be cheaper, or at least most cost effective, or even faster to connect from a mobile to the satellite, that rather than going to, through the regular networks that we have been building. Meaning, so we might be surpassing all of the decades-old technology that we have been throwing regularly, the proxy, the firewall, the endpoint, and the antivirus. Why? Because it's cheaper, faster, and most effective to go to the satellite, which I think is great on one perspective, but it deserves other questions. And of course, both, you know, the vendors on 5G and the vendors that we provide security solutions are a lot of paying attention on that, making it robust, solid, secure. But again, 5G is so cool, and I put it on the chat. You know, in some instances, it provides 10x to the actual 4G. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rafael, but it promises 1 gig per second. Well, yeah. At the peak, you have 10 megabytes per second on 4G.
Yeah. The promises and theoretical expectation is 10 gigabits per second, but actually, speaking about reality, currently it's 100 in-house, in buildings it's 100 megabits per second, and the peak is 1.6 gigabit per second commercially, right? So
but in any case, it's
still fast. Still fast, yeah.
Exactly. It requires going back to the drawing board. That's what I'm saying, you know, on security, on cybersecurity, on application testing, on firewalling, on endpoint protection. And this is what everything in this room, everything in this session is doing. So I think that's a fantastic opportunity to rebuild and to change, as I was saying, I will change the right way. So yeah, back to you. Thank you.
Yeah. Rams, just a short comment. I fully agree. The good news is that if you look at 5G network from architecture point of view, it's familiar because it's really known technologies put to a different use. You are talking virtualization, cloud, IP protocols, HTTPS signaling, right? So everything rings a bell, right? So actually looking at the architecture, you know, theoretically at least, the threats, you know how you should address them. The devil is in the details. So as you said, the speed, the latencies, right? So not each and every out-of-the-shelf, out-of-the-box product will cope, right? So it's actually the implementation is difficult. But from theoretical and architectural point of view, there is no specific, you know, black box there. That's good news, actually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much for your inputs to the discussion. It was excellent, not only because of the content itself, but for me it's an excellent introduction to the second part of the cybersecurity discussion on ITAPA, which will deal more on the case studies from the real life. So again, thank you, and hope in the better health situation we will have possibility to meet in person on some of the next issues of ITAPA here in Bratislava. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.